All right, so first up on the show is Ernie Ochoa, the owner of HandyGreen Landscaping. So, Ernie, welcome to the show, first timer.
Thank you.
Excited to have you here. You've got a great energy about you.
Yeah.
You can tell you're a sharp dresser. When we met up at Black Rifle Coffee, I mean, you know, it's like he brought his son with him. His son is very attentive to what's going on.
Nice.
That's next generation.
Yes.
So, how excited are you to kind of be training that next generation into what you're doing and what you're passionate about?
I'm definitely excited because I want to get it to the next level, you know, coming from where I started it. And then it's like all his mentality, his technology is all the stuff that's out there. And he brings all that to the table. And with the energy that he has also, it just, you know, because I'm used to doing things the old way, paper and hand, give the list to the guys like we used to when we first started. You know, he got me this program where now it's all on the phone and things like that. So the generations is getting better and better, you know. Technology, basically, you know.
Yeah.
I love that. Oh,
But in being proud, right?
Oh,
like also because it's your son going into the business.
Yeah, it's very exciting because we have a little history. You know, it's like, okay, you know, kind of personal side of it, but I just got him after 18 years, you know. And so he
congratulations.
came to me. Yeah, thank you. No, it's very exciting because, you know, going through a separation with his mom is like, you know, things are going back and forth. And then, of course, he's turning into a teenager where it's like, well, I'm going to hang out with my friends instead of hanging out with my dad. And I'm like, okay. But then 18 years comes around. It's like, well, I'm going to go with dad now. So I'm like, okay. So I got to catch up from all those years of missing out because, you know, one, they were busy. Two, she didn't want to, you know, let me have him and all kinds of little stuff like that. So finally, he's like, Dad, I'm going to go and hang out with you. I'm like, well, you ain't going to go to school. You're going to do something. He goes, well, I want to help you. And it's like, let's get the business to another level. He's talking about franchising. He's talking about, you know, all these softwares that are out there that help us run the business better. You know, that's where I'm going to need your help with some of that, you know, coaching because, like, again, I'm used to doing stuff old school, but we're getting to that point, you know, and we're busy and we got tons of stuff going on.
You know, the business coaching is kind of like a professional athlete. I've heard this analogy, and it's probably overused, but, you know, a professional athlete, somebody who's going to make money doing athletics, that's a pro, right? Wouldn't think of doing it without a coach. We understand it in that realm. But in ours, we're like, no, we're just going to plow through it. It's like, no, it's so important. I didn't realize until, I brought Heather on as my coach. So.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, just having someone on the outside who doesn't have a vested interest in the outcome, giving you that kind of backboard to talk through your ideas and then hold you to the things that you say are important in your business. That's really the key to it. It's that accountability piece of having a coach, having someone there to say, hey, you said getting all of this implemented was really important for your goals.
Yeah.
Let's do
Big
that.
deal.
And one thing I love about this is that your son is actively interested and involved. Because I talk to a lot of business owners and ask them what their legacy plan is, what is the ultimate goal, and their kids don't want anything to do with their business. They are not interested. They don't want to take over. And so they're thinking of selling. They don't know what to do. What is it that got your son interested? Because landscaping, I mean, it's a great business, but it's not the sexiest business in the world.
True. And you know, I've always told him, I said, look, you got to decide what you want to do because you can't just do it. And then, of course, I think it's the freedom that we have in the office as being where we're at now and the level that we're at. You know, we're not actually physically doing the work anymore. And he gets to, and I think it's in the sales part of it. I think it's his personality that helps him because, you know, he's also doesn't get dirty dressed. You know, he's dressed nice. And I tell him it's all about presentation when you're out there. And then he loves to talk just like I do. And so, and then he sees the return too, the numbers. He sees me enjoying life and I have these toys and I have this and I have that. And it's like, well, Dad, I want some of that too. And I'm like, well, you got to put your time in it. You know, you got to learn from the bottom like I did. Because when I first started, it was just me and another guy. And here we are with 10, 15 trucks. You know, we're about to hit almost 2 million this year. Wow. You know,
Very
and
nice.
I told you earlier, my guys showed up from the H2B program today.
Oh, yes.
Oh, my God.
You're
I got
excited.
14 guys that showed up, you know. And then I got my staff already, another 15 guys here. So now I got 30-something people that I got to deal with. And so it's like, okay, now we're back on track. You know, the season's here. Summer's here. We're going. You know, we put everybody in the trucks. We got everything going. And so they're off. And I think he sees all that. He sees that it's not how a lot of people think where we're like the mom and pop, where the little guy, we're just going down the street knocking on doors. You know, it's like, this is awesome. This is something that I never imagined it'd be to this point. I had to get staff to help me with numbers. I got to get accountants. And I'm like, oh, my, I'm used to doing stuff in paper,
Yeah.
So it's different. But
Turns into a mega operation.
Yeah.
I had a Zoom meeting this morning. I do Monday mornings with my team, and it's a full grid of Zoom. I mean, I think I had 16 people on. I started with 1 in August, and I'm at 16 now that was on the meeting this morning. It's full grid, and my daughter is...
Are you having to get a bigger screen?
Right? Well, I've got
Dual
3
screens.
screens now. But anyway, my daughter is going to be helping with, she does video editing, she does setup, stuff like that, but she's getting more and more involved. So that's a good feeling.
It is.
When that second generation comes in and they want to participate. It's not forced.
I just like him that he's there with me, because like I said, divorced 17 years, 18 years that he wasn't part of it, only on the weekends or every other weekends. And he was little. He was young when I was out working and doing all my thing. And he didn't understand it. Dad, let's go do this. I'm like, I'm tired. I got to go to work or something on Saturday or Sunday. And now that he sees the return, I think it's exciting. And just for me, just to have him there, it's just a blessing. And it's fun because he is interested.
I'm sure it's rejuvenated you.
Yeah, it did. It gave me more energy because I was supposed to retire like 3 or 4 years ago.
Ain't
And he
happening.
comes in bored and he's like, all right, I'm ready, Dad. I'm like, well, now I got to show him. And start him from the bottom so he understands everything about it, not just, well, okay, I'm going to go do sales and put an estimate together and boom, let's go. No, you got to know the product from top to bottom to be able to sell that product and be comfortable about that product. And you reassure the customer that that product is going to be that you promised him. You're going to go there 42 visits a year. You're going to do your part. You're going to add modes. You're going to have flowers throughout the year, all that stuff. So it's not just, So, but
and
he's
then
getting
leadership too, right?
Of course.
So that's the thing is teaching that next generation not only how to do the job and to work to earn that respect, working up through the system,
Right.
but also the leadership required to run a team.
Yeah, and I tried. I mean, don't get me wrong. Nobody taught me. It was just trial and error.
right.
And I tell him all the time. I said, look, I did all those mistakes for you, and he goes, well, let's do franchise. Let's get one in Austin. 'Cause
Oh,
he
he's
lived in
thinking
Austin.
bigger.
Yeah,
I
he's
love
thinking
it.
big.
He's like, well, let's get a franchise. I'm like, okay, look, let me work on that. Hold on, let me get this situated first. But
Let me talk to my business coach.
yeah. That's real, the coach. So
Is he watching Shark Tank?
I know. I think that's one of his favorite shows. It's like
That's
okay.
a good sign.
Yeah. So those are the little things that makes me feel excited that he wants to continue letting it grow. Because, I tell him all the time, I said, you can go all over the place. San Antonio's growing. So why can't we grow? Why can't we have 30 trucks? I mean, some of my competitors, have 30, 40, 50 trucks. The big boys in town. Some companies are nationwide. I mean, you can do that too. As long as you have backup, you have you're smart, you get everything together.
So you want to focus on commercial.
That's
So
all we do, yeah.
What does that mean, doing it for commercial?
Commercial means that, we do shopping center strips. So that at the mall, at the apartment complexes, someone has to do that maintenance there. And that's us. That's us. We started off with residentials, and they got good. And it was good for cash flow because every day you're running their card. Okay, you did 10, 15, 20 a day. But, it's great. But during the wintertime, it just stops. November, December slows down for your maintenance. So during that time, I was like, well, what are we going to do to keep busy? We need money. Christmas is the biggest time of the year. Everybody needs a little extra money. So we started doing Christmas lights. We started putting Christmas lights all over the place. But then next you know it, I had an opportunity to do a commercial property. And he says, look, this is all year round. And he goes, you don't stop? No. It's 42 visits a year. During the wintertime, we do slow down, but you still get that revenue.
It's a yearly
in.
contract.
Yeah, it's a yearly contract.
the
So what
check
I
will
do
come.
is I put a yearly contract together, divided by 12, and I get the same thing in the peak season and off season. The good thing about it is off season, my labor cost goes down because I don't have to pay as much to be there as much as more, So that's where we decided. It's like, okay, well, let's turn it around. Why can't we go after, some more apartment complexes? And next thing you know it, we're up to like almost 100 commercial properties, which is
Very
apartment
nice.
complexes, HOAs, little small shopping center strips. We do a lot of different churches. Oh, we just got the cemetery, San Fernando.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
congrats.
They were having some
Congratulations, yeah.
problems. They were having some issues over there. We just we did about 95% of the whole place right before Father's Day.
Oh,
Any
perfect,
special considerations for mowing at a cemetery?
Well, there's some things that you got to be careful and respectful and all that stuff
Sure.
like that. I mean, as long as, you respect, them, the people there and the stones and all that stuff. You just got to be careful. It's tedious. You got to do a little slower because if you do a big yard, a big field or something, you just go, go, go. In the cemetery, we had to be careful going in between the tombstones, all kinds of stuff. Just got to be careful, And of course, if there's something going on a little further away, we try to keep the tractors and everything away from this side.
Right.
So
Because of the
yeah.
noise and all that stuff.
But I found it that the commercials were better paying. You know, there's more profit to be made, and it's all year round. And that's what we decided. We kind of got rid of all the residentials. We just gave them away. We just told them, I can't handle. I'd rather do one stop a day than do 10 stops a day, you know, and save on fuel there. And then we're there, and it's all year round. I mean, if I'm going to get $3,000 a month, $4,000 a month, you know, I want to get that also in November, December, when normally I would only get maybe 1,000 or 1,500 because the residentials are going to slow. From my 10 that I would do during peak season, I'm only going to do 5 or 6 during off season because they're a little higher in home or something.
So what I love here is that you made the realization that I think a lot of, especially trade businesses, do realize commercial is going to be a little bit more bang for our buck. We're going to be able to make one stop, do a bigger job, but make more revenue. But where I see a lot of starting companies run into a wall is they're like, oh, commercial is the way to go. And then getting more commercial jobs. Because you just glossed over that. You're like, we were doing residential. We got one shot at a commercial. And then we were like, commercial, and boom.
Yeah.
What were some of the challenges you faced from saying, wow, commercial is the way to go, and then being at 100 commercial accounts?
Well, you know, the residentials don't ask you for insurance. You know, they're cool. You know, that's it. And it's like, okay, you're
they might not ask you for receipts.
Right. You know, it's like residential. You're going to go and they're like, okay, just don't forget to close the door and, you know, sweep blow here. Let's go on the residential. It's like, okay. You go to commercial. It's like, okay, now you're going to put in flowers 3 or 4 times a year. You're doing mulch, you know, once or twice a year. So it looks good all the time. I mean, it's a curb appeal that, you know, the building, the place, it's got to look good. So next thing you know it's like, okay, we need this insurance policy to cover this. You need workman's comp. You need all this stuff. And I'm like, holy moly, what's that? You know? So it's like I call my agent and it's like, okay, I need this. And like, oh my God, Ernie, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm doing this apartment complex. That's what they asked for me for. Like, okay. So those are one of the things. It's insurance. It's very expensive, you know? But we got it, you know? And so with that one, it covers all the properties. But it's expensive. So we have to make sure that right now, of course, everybody knows prices are going up for everything. So right now, exactly what we're doing is we're like going to our old clients, you know, it's like, hey, I'm sorry, you know, we haven't raised you in a year, 2 years. I got to go up. You know, insurance is going up. You know, he was just there at my office telling me all these things because I'm trying to figure out how to cut corners on stuff because it's so expensive. So it's like, sorry, we can't, you know. Rates are expensive.
So there's the initial expense of just
I think it
increasing.
is because we had all the equipment already. You know, we have equipment, we have everything. You know, it was insurance is expensive, fuel was going up and down. You know how that goes. But lack of help also. So we got involved with the H-2B program with the government. Have y'all heard of that?
Tell us
What's
a little bit
H2B?
more about that. Yeah.
Well, we're actually out of
Oh, we're
time.
out of
So
time.
it went by really fast, right?
All right, yeah, go.
I told you would do great. You did fantastic. All right, Ernie, if folks want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
They can call HandyGreenLandscaping.com. They can look us up, or, you know, they can call the office at 210-893-5000. Just, you know, somebody will help you out.
And you're looking really for commercial jobs.
That's it. That's all we do is commercial. Yes, correct.
Right, excellent.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ernie. Appreciate it.
No problem.
I knew it was going to be fast and easy.